So in this vignette, the citizens of Iran get like this rumor going around saying that Iraq has missiles, and they don't believe it at first because they said like they're the Olympic champions when it comes to gossip, but soon they realize that it's a reality, and the first missile was hit in Tehran where Margie lives, and she explains the story of her neighbor, which was a Jewish family.
Right.
And
what's significant about the Jewish family?
Oh, they have, they usually have Shabbat, and so that's when they stay home. That's when they stay home that day, which caused them to, I'll get into it, but like the missile dropped on their neighborhood, and it decimated their, the neighbor's home and killed them. And so Margie goes to their, was buying jeans when it all happened, and she comes home and sees the destruction in her neighborhood and hopes that her family isn't dead, and sees her mom like running at her and sees the destruction of her neighbor's house. And she hopes that they're still alive, but her mom kind of just tells her like, like she doesn't like just say it, but she kind of like just, like they might not be alive. And she sees a bracelet and all the rubble, and it's like not attached to her body, but it's attached to something like an arm or something.
Yeah.
And that kind of just devastates me.
Good. So you've chosen a panel on 136. Which panel did you guys choose from that one?
It's the bottom left.
Bottom left. With her parents?
Yeah.
So it says the 3 minutes seemed like 3 days. For the first time, I realized just how much danger we were in. What's significant about that panel? Why'd you choose it?
So obviously with the words it says I realize just how much danger we in. And interesting about this panel is nobody's actually saying anything in it, and it's more of her thinking it, and that's showing that she, in this circumstance, she's actually truly scared. And this is before her friends' family and stuff even gets killed. This is like for that, and it kind of shows like how, and in an earlier panel it says concerning the damage they do, whether they're on the basement or if it's the same thing. So that kind of really scares her because it shows that she can't do anything to protect herself against this.
Right, so this is the moment where she realizes that they're in some really serious danger, right? And then you chose 142. Which panel on 142 did you?
Which is bottom right one.
Bottom right.
It says,
The one that's all black?
yeah. It says, no strength in the world could relieve my suffering and my anger. And we chose this one because, well, for one, it's pretty cool how the author or the illustrator just made this panel like all black. It shows like her emotions, they're just like dry and dark.
Yeah.
And I think like in the words, in her thoughts, you can see that she's becoming like numb. Because she says like she can't just scream because it's like not even worth it. So like she's numb to the pain or because she's experienced so much, she just can't show what she knows.
Yeah, I mean, she's just realized that one of her best friends was murdered, essentially, right? She saw what was left of the house and what was left of the body, right? Good, and the last vignette is the dowry, so you guys go on. Someone give me a synopsis of it.
So, Margie's rebellious nature is thrown into the spotlight even more. She argues with the principal over jewelry and ends up being expelled after hitting the principal. Goes to another school and talks about political prisoners and how there are more political prisoners under this regime, and the religious teacher doesn't like that. And so her parents feel like it's time for her to go somewhere else where she can get a better education. That's Austria, and she ends up leaving it to make a very emotional time for her family and her friends and herself.
Yeah, so you guys chose page 147 left panel. So Sam, can you tell me why you guys chose that one?
We chose that one because like her life changed in that moment because her parents said that she did decide to move to Austria. She was probably kind of shocked because she's always been in Iran. Iran is her home, but her parents feel it's necessary to send her to Austria for better education and Italy.
Yeah. So how old is Margie at this point? She's 14, right?
Oh, yeah, I thought she was 12.
She's 14 in this last vignette. And so her parents are kind of vague about what is actually going to transpire, right, Ram?
I was just wondering, why couldn't her parents go with her to Austria?
Yeah, so that's the good question, right? Like, so do we have any idea of why her parents might not have been able to go with her, Matt?
I think they still have like responsibilities in Iran, like for example, like the house, you can't just like leave your house.
Mm-hmm.
You have to like sell it or whatever. So I think there's just a lot of other, and they have jobs, so I think there's just like a lot of other responsibilities that they do.
Right, so other responsibilities, Colby?
Would they have been like all like leave at once?
That's another thing. They might not have all been able to
It would
leave.
look like suspicious, like all
Right.
like a strip.
Right, so they might not have all been able to leave at once. The other possibility is that because she's a minor, another country's going to take her in as a refugee faster than they would have taken the entire family. Does that make sense? So so she sees a bunch of other people at the airport. Who else does she see? Andrew?
She sees there's like a lot of younger boys because it said that once the boys turn 13, they're forbidden to leave the country because they're considered future soldiers.
Yeah, so there are a lot of parents at this point sending their kids out of the country in order to make sure that they're safe, right? It's easier to grant a child asylum. It's easier to find some place for that child to live. So we know that Margie's going to a French school, right? We know that Margie speaks French. So we can infer that it's a residential school, it's a boarding school. They're sending Margie to a boarding school perhaps, or she's going to live with the uncle who's already there. Does that make sense? Why is this the end of the book? Why does she end it this way?
So she can write a second.
Okay, so she can write a second one, potentially. Colby?
Because like the book is about like the struggles in her home country,
Mm-hmm.
just like about Austria.
Yeah. So this book is about Iran. Matt?
Well, in the title it says story of a childhood, and I think maybe at this moment she realized she's actually like no longer a child, because she'll be on her own.
Right, so maybe she feels like her childhood is over at this point, right? She has to go, she's your age essentially, and she is moving to a foreign country without her parents, right? For all intents and purposes, her childhood is over. Malik, did you have something? Andrew?
Did it not already say on one of the pages with a cigarette that on like once I stood this my childhood is over?
Right, and that's kind of her, that's kind of like a childish declaration, right? Like, kind of a stamp of the foot, a pound of the fist, like, I am no longer a child, right? And she tells her parents at one point too, she says, well, once you're 14, you really don't need your parents anymore, right? So those are declarations of her own volition. But when she realizes that she's not going to be living with her parents anymore, what does she think? Ram?
Like she's kind of scared because she's gonna miss them.
Yeah, she's scared because she's going to miss them, right? Will?
She thinks even when you come back, she's not gonna live with them. So.
Yeah. Right, so when they come to Austria, she's not going to live with them. She realizes that, right? So Marjane Satrapi, I guess, ends this book because it ends, like, this is the end of her childhood, right? When does childhood end for most of us? When does the government say our childhood ends?
18.
18, right? So she's becoming an adult, for lack of a better term, 4 years before our government would consider her an adult.